that is for the US. Over the years, starting from 1995 all the way to 14. But I have another graph for more recent numbers as well, but the structure is almost the same. And that is the US is spending almost like 2.5 and above of the GDP on research and development. Germany is just right there with US, like that green line. And then if you see the graph, the increasing slope here, and this is for South Korea. Over the years, they have been, increasing in research. This is for Finland. And if you see this graph here at the bottom, that's for China. You see that's increasing over time. But another thing to notice here is India has not appeared on this map until recently. So this is the percentage of GDP or the R&D intensity is below 1%, has been below 1% over the years and still is below 1%. So that's the point I'd like to make, that we need to go a long way to catch up with other countries in allocating our research and development intensity. Again, this is the more recent, it's until 2019. Some numbers are until 21, but the graph is almost So this is the R&D dollars, research intensity developed based on different countries. So again, US is number one, China, and then in total amount, that is the gross investment in research and development, the GERD. 447 million US versus 40 millions for India, ranked number 8 until about 14. Going forward, so about 2021, India moved up a little bit in total amount of research intensity, so it's about $95 million dollars. But still, the R&D percentage, the research intensity is still less than 1%, 0.86. To give an idea of how much relatively the research intensity versus the number of scientists and engineers working on different research projects over the years, this is a nice reflection of that, and see what's happening in different countries. So you see the red, the blue circle here, that's for the US. So the size of circle indicates the size of the research intensity, the amount of money to spend on research and development. And the location depends on the research intensity versus the number of scientists and engineers in millions. So if you look at the top right corner, so like Finland is way up there. So even though their amount of money spent on R&D is very small, but on these two metrics, they are pretty high. And once again, India is somewhere here, that means the research intensity is pretty low, and the number of people working in this science and industry engineering is very small. And China is somewhere here. They have a lot of budget, but still the number of people working are relatively not that much. Again, same graph, more recent until 2021. Similar idea. India is still here on the bottom left corner. China is here. US is somewhere here. Finland is way up here, and South Korea, if you notice, it has been spending relatively large amount of money and also a lot of people working in research and in things. So you get an idea of the BRIC countries, which is the Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Again, this is where US is and South Korea increasing. US has been pretty stable over the years. But China has increasing trend. Russia is increasing, Brazil is slightly increasing, but India is still below 1 and not increasing that much. This is more recent, just to give you the idea of until 2019 or 2019. Once again, this bottom line belongs to the research intensity and India over these years. So still, even though the amount of money, like we saw, is increasing, but but the research intensity is not increasing as for the other more developing countries. Just to get an idea as to where things um, the kind of research and development that goes on in India is, is, is the areas are like psychology, engineering, physics, computer science, and materials engineering. These are some of the key research facilities in India. TIFR, Bioatomic Research Center, and the Institute for Astrophysics, and so on. Given distribution of research in different areas, the dark blue indicates the development kind of work going on, and the light blue is the applied research, and gray is the basic research. In India, it is sort of balanced in all three areas. A lot of development work goes on in China and US relatively, but also even this sector, the applied research is also quite a bit, and basic research relatively small, but the amount is pretty big. Another metric by which we can see the research, the impact of research actually in the society is the number of publications. And then for the like what Japan was number 3, China was number 2 in the global R&D rank, and these are the number of publications. But 2012 per million people. Again, India is 8th on the research intensity rank, but is pretty low from the research productivity point of view. If you look at Singapore, it was 22nd in the amount of research money being spent, but the publications are relatively much higher. So again, this is an idea of where we good to know where we are. Things have changed a little bit by 2021. Those were 2014. So India has moved up a little bit. So, but things are happening, but still there's a lot of room for improvement if you want to do or have some, make headway, relatively speaking, on the world stage. Another measure of research we can look at the number of Nobel Prizes in science and medicine that are offered, won by different countries over the years. And you see most of the time it is the US is a bigger percentage. This gray is for the European countries. This is the Asian, the dark green, the light green is the rest of the world. This portion is increasing just a little bit, but still you can see here, wherever more research, basic research goes on, that's where things are happening, more exciting things are happening, more basic research, more basic contributions being made in science and technology. So to the theme here is that, in India, we are actually far behind. If you look at the world stage in our contribution in the research field from, the development point of view, from research, new ideas point of view, and partly is because the research intensity has been pretty low, relatively speaking. So that has to improve. It is improving, but I think there are a lot of things to catch up. Just to set the stage here. So the next thing I want to talk about is how to do quality research. So I mean, what is the difference between good research and not good research? And the same thing with publication. How to write good quality publications. Research. I'm sure you are in the process of doing research right now. And you will be continuing doing that in the future as well. If you get into academia. So what is good constitutes a good work? So that is the key thing here. The main thing that I've observed over the years is to present whatever you want to do, to present a more deeper analysis of the problem in the test. It doesn't matter what problem that is. Just presenting experimental results or some basic results quickly, that's not the idea. The idea is to go deeper, ask the question, what's happening, why it is happening, and try to justify it scientifically. Um, Not just experimental research is one thing, but also to base your research on some scientific facts. And that's what makes it more acceptable and then makes it more exciting. And that's what makes more impact as well in the world. So use of scientific approach is very important. More, I would say, analytically strong, mathematical, otherwise, so that we have found out the reason of why things work and how things work, and we need to answer the question. And development of new insights and principles, and that's what it will lead to. If you try to observe something and try to answer why things are happening, and that's where you discover new things. And if you can take the examples over and over again in the history of science, where these key observations have actually led to the breakthroughs. And we know, I think everybody knows how Newton developed the gravity, right? It's just observation. But he did not leave the observation right there, but he looked into why it fell down, why the apple fell down, and then tried to explain that thing. And explanation came with a whole new idea of the people didn't know what was happening around them. So that is the key thing here. Go deeper, go deeper into whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter. The problems are not exciting. You have to make the problems exciting. So there could be all kinds of issues around you all the time. And the thing that you do is to observe them and then explain what things are, why, how they're happening, and how to make them better. So the key things that you're looking for here are novelty, something new, conceptual advancements, insignificant step forward, creation of new knowledge, breakthroughs, disruptive research. These are kind of ideas, words that the people look for when they classify a research to be a breakthrough research or disruptive research or something new and different. And that's what constitutes a good quality of work. So how to embark on that kind of research work? And the thing is, like I mentioned before, through observation of a phenomena, very important. The more you can thoroughly observe what the process is and understand what is happening, you're halfway home, because then you can, and the other half is try to explain why things are happening. So true observation is the key uh, in developing some breakthroughs. And the inspiration ideas from peers, so interaction with your peers, knowing what they're working on, and so collaboration and those things are something like that. Trying to answer questions of why and how things work. Very simple things. They're very simple things, but the thing is to accomplish them in a deeply and in a more creative way is very important and very difficult as well. So it takes a lot of time and effort to achieve, research, to bring research to that level. So that is sort of my message here. So writing proposals, writing papers, what constitutes something a very high quality paper, or high quality research proposal. And I will talk about research proposals as well, or take an idea of how to write a good research proposal. You have to tell, number one is in a paper that you're writing, it's a compelling story, written in view of the journal that you're writing for, but you have to make it a very interesting story. It can't be very dry, can't be very because you make it interesting enough that people can appreciate the application or the problem that you're working on, and then they will like to see, they will appreciate what you have created. It should be short, clean, and very clear. That is very important. If you cannot convey what you've done, no matter how good work you've done, it will never be reached to an acceptable level. So you have to convince the reader as to how what you've done is how convincing that is. So that is very important in the writing of the paper. It should be written clear, convincing, and impeccable language. Again, you cannot have uh, spelling mistakes and those kind of things. And even articulation of the use of the language is very important here. So writing, and you cannot just write something overnight and submit to publication. No, it doesn't work that way. All the papers that I write, I sit on them for weeks and months, and then come back and read it again, come back, read it again, and then you slowly find out what the gaps are in your writing. The first time you write, you don't write in that way, but you may have captured the concept that you worked on, but it's not like a nice story. There are lots of gaps. The words that you use are not very convincing, may not be very convincing. So you come back, rewrite, observe it, read it, find faults with it, and then maybe do more experimentation, maybe do more things, so that it becomes more convincing and clear and very impactful that way. And abstract is very important. A paper or a proposal or whatever you want to do, because most of the things, the first impact that can make is reading the abstract. So you mentioned what are the conclusions telling us how do these impact, what do these impact on, how important are these results beyond immediate community and so on. So you have to be very careful in presenting the ideas. You may have good ideas if you don't present it the right way, you don't write the right kind of language, or it may not be understood and therefore not accepted. So it is so doing good work is essential, of course, but presenting it the way it should be understood, the way you develop it, or the kind of thing you develop is also equally important. And that's the point I'm trying to make here. And that's what constitutes a good paper. If you look at the paper submitted in good journals, that's one thing you will see. They've written in language which can be easily understood, and you can appreciate the conclusion or the idea they're presenting and how they're presenting and how they developed it and what they developed it. If you leave gaps in there, then even though the idea may be good, it won't be published in a good journal. So these are simple ideas, and sometimes we think they're obvious, but we do not always follow along those lines. And because of shortness of time, or otherwise, we just tend to quickly write something and try to publish, and does not necessarily constitute a good publication. So writing, doing the work is one thing, but writing is equally important. That's my just to give you some insight into writing a proposal for a sponsored project. Like I mentioned before, research is going to be a very essential part of academic life, as you know, and there's nothing difficult about it. If once you get into it, so many students I have had who say, "Oh, I don't want to get into academia because it's very difficult." Well, it's not really difficult. Once you get into it, it's very exciting. It's very satisfying that way. If you do things the right way, you will don't feel the difficulty of accomplishing what you need to accomplish. So research is one thing that you will end up doing all the time, because research leads to generation of new knowledge, advancement of technology, growth of a nation, improvement in quality of life, enhancement of national security, among others. So this is very important thing. And like I mentioned before, for the country's research and development budget is very high, and therefore there are more people working on it, and therefore more exciting things happening. And that is where national security, quality of life, and economy, and all those things are impacted. So in a way, it's very important for any country to invest in research nowadays. Uh, Technology advancing in such a fast pace that we have to learn and then contribute in that flow of knowledge ourselves. And for that, we have to catch up very quickly and develop new ideas. International standing of a nation depends on the research that we do. Research in academia also helps train future researchers. Um, so, so what happens? Different countries have different avenues they develop. And India has developed quite a bit too, and they are still developing. There's no question about it. But the thing is, we have to do faster and much bigger. So there are government agencies which promote research, private agencies, industry, research foundations, and so these are all the agencies which are promoting research. And in the US, for instance, all these four are very strong. There's a lot of industry doing research on their own. There are government agencies, NSF, DOE, name it, Army, they're all DARPA. There are all kinds of agencies that billions and billions of dollars of research flowing to support research in all different areas. From basic sciences to applied research and so on. And industry is spending a lot of money. So it has to be a very uniform front, actually, um, to encourage people to do research in academia as well as industry, and to get that funding, to apply for the funding. If you are from academia, from government agencies, you have to write proposal, and this proposal is an art, and not every proposal gets funded. It's a big, very severe competition. So I'll give you some hints as to how to write a good proposal, because you maybe end up doing this in not too far future. So research in academia, for example, is also a very important component of promotion and tenure. So it's a very nice, it's a very important component that you have to learn to you have to develop so that you can write good proposals and get funding and so on. So the question then arises is, what's a good research proposal? How to write a good research proposal? So there are some ideas which may seem common knowledge, but I think we tend to overlook these when we develop proposals. So I just want to emphasize, some important pieces of a research proposal that we ought to be very carefully incorporating in that. So research topic is of paramount importance. Paramount importance. Okay, so you have to choose a topic which is of your innate interest, talent that you have, knowledge and creativity, because that's where you could propose some ideas that you are thinking of, that you worked in the past, and that you're excited to develop. It should pertain to a transformative idea, okay? One that will enhance state-of-the-art knowledge in the field. Applied research is fine, but the applied research of an area, so incremental ideas are based on some existing body of knowledge, and you want to make it benefit to the society or right away, or to want to have an application. But they are of less attraction by the agencies, especially in the US. So we're looking for ideas here which are transformative, which are going to generate some new ideas. For that, you also have to know, what people have done in that area, but you have to propose something which is new, different, and transformative in nature. Like I said before, abstract is very important. So many times a proposal can be declined just because the abstract is not written properly. So it should be important part of the proposal is that the abstract is very important. It is scrutinized the most. That's one thing that everybody reads. And so a judgment to fund a proposal can be easily affected right away if the reader or the reviewer is not concerned, is not um, impressed by what you said in the abstract. So the opening paragraph should clearly state the problem to be addressed and get the reader interested in reading further. So it should be followed by concise discussion on novelty of the proposal, the intellectual component, the idea that you're proposing, potential contributions that will come out of the research to advance the field, broader impacts. Even though you may be proposing something which are in the basic research, but to show how important it could be when it's developed and applied to different fields, that's also very important for people to get convinced that this is the kind of research they want to support. So broader impacts is very important, and that should be included in the abstract as well, and some educational benefits. So all of these things should constitute abstract, which is written for like 1 page, a page and a half. And like I said before, this is the face of the proposal. And if people like the face, if they like the abstract, they will definitely pay attention to read the rest of the proposal. If they don't like it, most likely a proposal is not going to be read properly or going to be funded. The next section is typically the introduction and literature review, which should have clear explanation of the main problem to be addressed, theoretical and applied contributions to be made, and the tasks that you're going to perform to do the work. Present a brief but comprehensive discussion of related literature. So you have to show that you are aware of what the state of the art is, and you are going to advance that state of the art. So the relationship of the proposed research to the existing body of work is very important, and then that you're going to extend that work, and therefore that you're going to do something novel in that area, and that has to be emphasized. And just make sure that you never miss out on any existing research piece of work, because somebody invariably, if they find out that something happened before, your proposal is killed right then and there. So knowing the literature is very important, and then relating to it and how you will advance your work from what has happened in the past. And then it should be brief and comprehensive. The body of research proposal clearly discusses the work to be performed and its underlying theoretical and applied contributions. So the key things that I've noticed, I've read a lot of proposals by other faculty from other institutions as a reviewer for National Foundation and other agencies. And these are kind of things that are that we look for, that reviewers look for. So clarity of writing and quality of exposition is very important. So well-written proposal that is interesting and engaging. You have an idea, you have good ideas, but you have to make it interesting so people can, reading the abstract, reading the first paragraph of the body of the work, oh, this is something I want to really continue to work to see what's going to come, and an exciting thing that's going to happen. So make it very engaging. Reviewers learn, so make sure the reviewers learn something interesting from the proposal. Proposal is not a paper, but at the same time, it is like a paper, because you're interested in the proposal, the reviewer is something inciting, something new going to happen in this work, and convince them that this is achievable, and then this is going to be good. Describe the problem, research tasks, contributions, etc. in layman's terms, so that everybody can read and understand. Again, clarity of writing, no matter what it is, like I said before, whether proposal or paper or whatever it has to be exceptionally good. All technical terms should be defined precisely, provide personal insights, what is known and what is not known. The more you can personalize it, it's like a digestive thing that you're proposing, that you're writing, the more convincing it sounds. If it's like a bookish kind of thing, writing some paragraph from there, putting it together, that doesn't go well at all. So you have to understand, digest it, and write it in your own words, and that's what makes it more convincing. It should educate and avoid showing off. It should be educate. So you have to teach something to the reviewer, and then try to avoid showing off. Superlative of your own work. Oh, I've done the best work possible, and therefore I'm taking money to support them. It should be you have to convince them scientifically, not through your work, but just scientifically, to show them something new thing that can help, that can come out of it, and you have to show them scientifically, not through this superlative word. Spelling mistakes, poor grammar, ill formatting, they are fatal actually. Some reviewers are looking for these things, and the moment they find these kind of things, they reject the proposal right away. So you have to be very careful. And like I said before, the more time you spend in writing these things, the better the proposal will be. Easy in reading, use digestible subsections. So emphasize clear contributions and their usefulness. And sometimes you can highlight that's kind of thing you can do. It's not that you're highlighting what you think is important, so that the reviewer doesn't overlook that fact. So those things are very important. And this is also a very subtle thing, actually, facilitating the reviewer's task. That is by being knowledgeable about the evaluation criteria. So you can actually carefully cover those criteria in the proposal itself, highlight them, so that the reviewer knows they're looking for those kind of things. And if you have provided those ideas in the proposal already, it'll be easy for them to, to read them and then say, oh, this is the kind of proposal there is, and therefore give you a good ranking as well. So the idea is to use subliminal, subliminal messages, subtle messages, to review, to reiterate those ideas in their evaluation report. There's some subtle hints here, but those can make reviews to your liking. Like I said before, paper versus so proposal is not a paper, right? But actually, it is. You have to write it in such a way that it has a scientific content. It has convincing argument that the methodology is important. The result is going to be very exciting, and so on and so forth. So those ingredients are there, but they are more like preliminary results. They're not like final results. In that sense, the proposal is not a paper, right? So inside only of the preliminary results, and you never mention the final result that you're going to have in the proposal to begin with, because the moment reviewers find out, well, this is all you are proposing to do, then the answer will be, well, so what new are you proposing? So you have to whet this thirst. You have to say that, well, these are the kinds of things that happen, but you not just achieve them. You know they are doable, they are achievable, and you have a methodology by which you can do, but not really present everything. You just have to whet the thirst. Indicate the depth of the thought process that you have. Exhibit the ability to do research work that you have to write in the proposal, and review just enough to make the proposal appealing. So not too much or too little. Early on in my career, I used to write proposals um, as if I've achieved everything, just to show off that okay, I know the subject, I know what's to be done, and I've done some work. But then the review used to be, well, so you have done all the work yourself already. So what are you proposing to do? So that way you have to be very careful. You draw a very fine line between what you want to say and what you don't want to say. You just want to say the right amount so that to make it very appealing, just to get the source so that you get funding, right? And the illustrative examples provided provide illustrative examples to understand to pique the interest and curiosity of the reviewer. So they're very important, useful for motivating, to motivate the research questions. And then, of course, make sure that the page limit and the word limits and all those things are adhered to, so that it can't be rejected on a technical basis. Theory versus application, that is an important question here. So you have to strike a good balance between these two. It can't be all theoretical. If you have a little more applications to illustrate how the theory is going to be applied and then useful for the economy, for society, and so on and so forth, that's going to be a very beneficial thing to have. So reviewers are looking for those kind of things. So it can't be completely dry proposals, addressing all the good ideas that you have. You should relate them to something, how it can be applied. So the top ranked proposals that I've seen in my life over several years displays potential for making both significant theoretical and methodological advances, as well as the use of those approaches in practice. So it is not totally development work. It has to be basic work, but you relate that to something useful application in mind. And once the reader has that application in mind, then they can see how your the new ideas that you're proposing, breakthrough that you're trying to achieve, how they can be applied in real life. Seeking industrial partners, that's very important, especially for applied kind of research. So propose research in specific application area. It's a good idea to talk to industry and get their feedback on the ideas and get their letter of support, collaboration, actually. Not support, collaboration. So from industrial partners, it can only enhance the strength of the proposal. So these letters should indicate the potential benefit to the company, and they can share data with you, and so you can apply the ideas and show the effectiveness of what you are going to create. And of course, the proposal should be in the right logical order and timeline. Of course, that's very important. And this is also very important that when you're writing proposal, before you start writing proposals, to get in touch with the program director or manager and make sure they're conversant with what you're trying to do, and if in fact it's going to be acceptable. Many times the priorities of the program directors change. Uh, they change over time because of other reasons, and therefore it's good to know what they're proposing, what they are supporting nowadays, and then propose along those lines. And if those ideas they're not supporting, there's no point sending proposal to them because they're not going to support anyway, no matter how the proposal is going to be. So I'm saying this particularly for young investigators because they don't know, you may not know exactly what the program director areas are. So it's a good idea to talk to them and then develop proposal for those areas or for those divisions or programs for which your idea is going to be acceptable. And keep the reviewers in mind. That's also very important. So the question that they may be asking after you've written the proposal. And like I said before, if you read the proposal a few weeks, a month or so after, those ideas will come in your mind already. Many questions arise. Oh, why did I write this thing? Why I'm developing this thing? And if you can answer those questions in the proposal itself in a subtle way, then actually you have answered the reviews the questions already, and that constitutes a very good proposal, because then the reviewer won't have any questions um, to ask or to raise against the proposal. In case of review panel, if you know what the review process is, the dynamics of the review panel is very important. Many a times your review panel have no idea of many members of your work. So it is very important to make sure the proposal that you write is going to be appreciated by the experts as well as non-experts in the review panel. And that's, like I mentioned before, the presentation should be engaging and appealing to all of them, right? So the experts like it, as well as those who don't know it, they can also, make the way you've written it, they can also appreciate how good this idea is. And of course, the broader impacts are important. The more you can say that how useful your ideas proposed is going to be for different sectors of the economy, nation at large, different societies, and then it makes it in a convincing way, of course, and make the proposal more effective. Of course, the education component, how the research will benefit the students, and then how you will incorporate your ideas into the courses that you teach, and so on. Because I think that should also be a part of the proposal, according to the budget and so on. I think I'm taking a little longer than expected. How much time do I have? Should I go on? Okay, so the last topic I want to talk about is the strategies to increase research productivity. Again, these are simple ideas, but I've tried this over years, and they're very, very effective. And so the idea is to how to increase your productivity, right? So start early. It's easy to delay things, and therefore, what happens is, in the end, you probably may have less time than what you have now, and therefore, the work that you could have done earlier and cannot be done, and therefore, your productivity goes down. So start early so that you can um, identify the gaps in the work you're doing. You may do more experimentation. You may develop some new insights and make the problem the work more interesting, and writing more engaging, and so on and so forth. Right? So starting early is a very important component of increasing your productivity. Plan ahead. Right? Okay? Make to-do lists on a regular basis, and then prioritize your task. And I've seen we become sort of slave to what we write the thing, but that's important. All the tasks that you want to do, you write them, you'll be surprised how effectively those things that you've written get completed. Okay? So because that's something that motivates you, and you know that you have to do it. Otherwise, you tend to forget, delay them, procrastinate, and therefore, before you know, many things that you could have done, they don't happen. So again, simple idea, but it's very, very important. And the other thing that I've seen to affect quite a bit is do the most difficult task first. Okay? To do the most engaging, frustrating tasks as soon as possible, um, so that you can then, if that is done, then you have more exciting work to be done later on, and it keeps you motivated. Because otherwise, you keep delaying the most difficult task. Simple tasks you can do, but then you don't have enough time to do the most difficult task or tasks and so therefore they never get completed. So this is very very effective that I found myself. Finish what you do, what you can start, what you start, right? If you can finish a task in one go, you should do it, right? Delaying it will also lead to procrastination and you will forget about the deadline. An incomplete task before can linger on and cause unnecessary stress. So this is a good idea to try to finish everything anything that you start. Set goals and reward yourself. So again, setting goals, like I said before, writing down what you want to do is very effective, can be very productive and motivating. Uh, so the goals should be very specific, exactly what you want to achieve. You should be able to measure them, the success of them, attainable. So you can't set goals too high, too much, uh, too big. That cannot be achieved. So then in that case, it will you won't be able to achieve much in that case. And they should be realistic, they are attainable. And of course, it's a good idea to set deadlines as well. If the task is complex or challenging, what I found myself doing is that break it up into smaller pieces and do those small things one at a time, and then the whole things get completed as well. But in the process of doing small things, you end up learning more about the subject, more about the paper, more about the problem that you're working on, and therefore ending writing more papers and so on and so forth. So it becomes actually more productive that way. Because otherwise you work on the big thing all of a sudden, then you cannot make much progress, and therefore all the good ideas that you could develop otherwise, they don't happen. So doing step by step fashion, from the simplest thing to the most difficult thing, you'll find yourself to be more creative, more productive, and more successful in life. Prioritize your things. In the limited time available, you have to prioritize what you find to be more important. Whatever you do, you should do it well. Okay? That's important. You cannot do everything, therefore, you need to learn to sacrifice. And that's one good lesson that you could teach yourself, and that is you can't accept everything that'll come your way. As a faculty member, there will be lots of things, service, research, teaching, and so on and so forth. You cannot accept all those things and think that you will be productive and you could make advancements in, like I said before, research is your job one kind of thing. So, and if you want to do research, productive in research, then you have to be able to spend time in research. And that cannot happen if you want to do everything, the committee work and the service work and all those things. Teaching you have to do, but I think teaching and research are the two main things that you have to be focused on. And that you to learn to know in a nice way what not to be done. Um, Distractions should be limited. Okay, so you need to have a block of time to do things, and in that block of time, nothing should be able to disrupt you. Um, Invariably, I've seen in your offices close the door if you're trying to work. You don't need to get other people to distract you. These are easy things that can just distract and that waste your day or days. Uh, by simply closing the door or shutting off those things, you'll see how much work you can accomplish. Um, and you can leave making good timetables. You can leave those things, other time to do. But in a block of time that you want to be creative, you don't want any disruption that way. You maintain work-life balance. This is also very important. You cannot just work 24 hours a day. You have to make it frequent breaks to improve productivity. That's important. And the workout and those things, running and everything is part of your life, and to avoid the building of stress, and therefore you can accomplish more that way. Again, these are maybe something we may already know, but I think we do not end up doing. But I think if we make a point of doing these things, you will see your productivity goes up tremendously. Of course, you have to improve your research skills, critical thinking, problem solving, data analysis, communication, writing a presentation. If you think you lack on something, then you have to take coursework. You have to read yourself to build, to overcome that gap. And so that you can, use those ideas in your research. You have to realize there's nothing wrong. Life is for learning. So even if you've gone through school and everything, there's still some subject that you learn. You can go back and take classes and learn them, because those are the kind of things that you may need for your research now. And the other idea is the collaboration. So, like I said, you can't do everything yourself. Making good collaboration with people, which is exchange of, can lead to exchange of ideas, share resources, get feedback from them, different kinds of support. And collaborative research is actually the most effective research. And you can do, like I said, productivity, that you can do more things. Instead of working on one thing, you can just work on 2, 3, 4 things at the same time with collaboration. You can learn 4 times better, produce 4 times products, and so on. So, anyway, so that's all I have to say. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Doctor's college.
Yeah, go ahead. Please.
Those participants who join through online, you can also ask you. It's correct. Yeah.
अनम्यूट कीजिए तो
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. So,
Okay. Are there any questions?
yeah. So you may please ask.
Okay, so sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can barely hear you. Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
You're not audible.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for your presentation. I was just asking that, so you talked about research productivity. So in my case, my productivity really hampers when I get some kind of rejection. So in this research journey, how we can cope up with rejection and still maintain our productivity?
You mean when you get the rejection for your paper?
Oh, yes, from journals.
So you think that that affects your productivity?
Yes, in my case, it somehow affects my productivity, and I think that I need to cope with that.
Right. Actually, it shouldn't. I mean, I cannot say that every paper that I wrote in my life was accepted. So sometimes you have to learn. I mean, those people who are reading the proposal or the paper or paper, they're knowledgeable people. So some of those comments are really can be beneficial. So actually, we can. So in the end, what I've seen is that some of those comments were really good. So I learned from them and made the paper or the proposal better. In fact, a few years ago, my proposal was rejected. And I thought, well, this is not good because the reviewers probably didn't understand uh, what I was saying, because what they said was seemed like conflicting actually, because there were 6, 7 reviewers, And if I read their comments carefully, they were conflicting. And the program manager said, well, that's the way things are. So you have to convince them that this is something, so he still didn't accept. He didn't fund the proposal. I had to go back and make sure that those comments were now incorporated into my proposal. I did more work. So in a way that was, and then the proposal was accepted a few years afterwards. So you can take that as more like a positive thing, so that you can learn from those things. So maybe we're not doing things perfectly the first time or all the time. So if somebody has conveyed some ideas, I think we should learn from them and make the paper or proposal and not give up. Just because somebody said no doesn't mean that all the ideas were bad. Maybe we can learn from that and articulate our proposal or our paper in slightly differently, do some more experimentation if it's paper, or do some more theoretical work and then include them. So that'll probably make the paper even better than before. So there's nothing, we shouldn't feel as if your all this effort has gone, they have wasted your time for nothing. In fact, that's a positive thing. I will look at a more positive thing because now you have an opportunity to make your work even better. You can then maybe publish in a better journal than what you submitted before.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Any
Does
other
it make
question?
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So I won't feel that sort of dejected that way. You should take it in a positive way. And we all get our things rejected. There's no question about it. Nobody has been successful everything that they do the first time around. But if you do carefully to begin with, yes, they can be successful. There's no question about it. But if they're not, let's learn from them and then make it even better. And then maybe in the process, you may come up with another idea to write a second paper along with the first paper. And that has happened in the past as well. So instead of one paper, you end up writing two papers because there was something that you overlooked, and now you can, you can develop on that idea as well, convincing what they had before, but that lead to something else, so you can write a second paper. And that has happened with me many times. And it still happens.
So good morning, sir. Thanks a lot for the insightful presentation. Sir, my
Thank you.
question is, for the working candidates who are also doing doctoral research, so any suggestions how they strike a balance between the official duty and the theoretical work?
The compromise between theoretical, say it again now?
Yeah, shall I come back again, sir?
Yeah, could you repeat your question? The compromise between, or balance
Yeah, so
between?
yeah, how do we strike the balance between say official work and the doctoral work?
Doctoral work and
Official work for the working candidates, sir.
the working candidates.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I
yeah.
see. Okay, I see. That's right. Yeah, that's one thing. I think that is quite different in India because you end up doing like teaching, I think, full time, and then you're doing doctoral work, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is difficult. There's no question. And the only thing that can happen is you just have to block out some time, you know, and just like I said before, focus on few things. You need to give up few things. If the main focus is your job that you're doing, maybe working with industry or teaching, I think teaching and your research, those should be your main two tasks. Everything else has to be uh, temporarily given up. And you create blocks of time whenever you have, morning, evening, night, weekends, and that's the only way. Yes, it is hard. It will be difficult, but it is manageable. It's manageable. I had a student. Now, typically here, students take 3-4 years to complete their PhD, and And then after a year and a half, he got offer from Intel, saying that they wanted him. They want to train him to send him to another country because Intel was opening a plant there. I told him, no, you cannot do it because you came here to do a PhD. 6 months later, they came back and said, well, we need him. I said, the only way you can say yes to him is that you're going to work for them only 3 days a week. 2 days a week, you need to have time for your research. And they agreed. And that's how he finished his PhD. In fact, he finished his PhD in 2.5 years. Usually it takes 4 years to do it. And he finished it 2.5 years. And the work was outstanding. The reason? Because he was able to separate his work from his thesis. So 2 days a week plus weekends, he was dedicated to his work, to his thesis, and other days he was doing whatever he had to do for Intel, and then he finished his work. So it's doable. It can be done. You have to learn. You have to learn to compartmentalize your time in an effective way. A couple of things, and then if you're able to do it, then it's doable.
Thanks, sir. This is useful.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, no, I understand. I know these are difficult situations, but they're doable. It can be done. It's not that you have to be very firm that way. That yes, those 2 days I'm going to do this. I'm going to do my dissertation work. Nothing else. Nothing can disrupt me. And then you spend your time there, and then for other 2, 3, 4 days, whatever days you have, then you do your other work. And then this way you will see you will do good in both of them.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your insightful comments, and I think it's going to help the PhD scholars for doing a better work. So thank you for your time, your valuable time, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll be taking, yeah. So we'll be taking 5 minutes tea break. Tea is served outside, just outside the auditorium. Please come back within 5 minutes, and after that, we are going to start workshop with Professor Sonija. Thank you.
as a check, as a check, as a check. Take it. Yeah.
Oh, so that's why I'm switching window.
Yeah, and also ask Bala to switch it over to the presentation.
Sure.
You just call me sorry. Like, we don't have bad research or that. Especially because you're female, I should just call me my house. Basically, is having a contract floating towards on these, for example, like GSJ. So it's a good ground, but it's not counted uh, forward anymore. Even
Slide changer.
even good. And so they will have their own limit. So for example, now I'm very focused on the SMG. Yeah. Management science is an umbrella genre. So, for example, management science and finance they didn't count it. It's like a borderline case for them. So if you have a five class in management science, they'll give you 10, but really launching like you're doing your favor. Take that in our case, management science is huge. It's a very nuanced situation. How's it here? It would be similar.
Slightly different. Yeah, it was super big. Yeah. We even have liberal arts. So now we have family content and some other form like maybe impact after our service or part time. For management areas, maybe this is for
So we don't already see.
it is for the Australia and India probabilities.
I think a lot of other schools in Europe will also follow ABCC. So sort of benchmark.
Yeah, and there they also follow ABS.
ABS is a good for that. Take the four. But eventually it comes down to tenure decisions and down to reputation. There is a publication bound into it. Which is why, like, my environment really build an identity. People still should instantly think of human. Right?
Building an identity and
Yeah.
a niche area
you.